Hey everyone, it's Michael Goosebumps fan. I did not expect to have a review up for you today. And when I read Give Yourself Goosebumps books, I burn through them pretty quick, even if they're bad, because I like to just get them over with. Even if they're just really fun, like I like to absorb every detail, I like to have a great time talking about it and everything. And of course, this month is October. This, of course, is the Halloween month that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And I've been trying to read everything. And of course, one of the most expensive and most difficult books to find for Goosebumps in general is a Give Yourself Goosebumps book. It's a special edition book, which is number 7 of those. It's called Trick or Trapped, which, of course, there's a Goosebumps Most Wanted book, I think is what it was, called Trick or Trap. I recently read that and reviewed that. That was a very solid, very decent book. Trick or Trapped is not very great. As a matter of fact, this book is relatively bad, honestly. I'm very thankful that God blessed me enough to let me only have to pay like $15 to a user on eBay from Australia to give me this book. I was very thankful for that. Again, if you happen to be watching this video and you happen to be the seller, thank you so much. I appreciate what you've done and put this out there for me to be able to buy that in general. The book is not good. It was a really big letdown. You know, like I'm slowly starting to worry that the special editions of Give Yourself Goosebumps are typically mediocre to just plain bad, right? Like we had the first of the special editions called like something about Doom. It was the one inside of the museum that I talked about a while back. It was like an 18-minute long review for me. This one will probably be a relatively lengthy video itself. It was a horrible book, and the Visible Man was like the only thing that was cool in that particular book. This one is very close to being just as bad, except for it's not as confusing with the formatting of the adventure itself. I just did not like Trick or Trapped. I just thought that this was a very slow, very not so creative type book. It didn't feel as fun as the typical Give Yourself Goosebumps books. And like I said, I'm having a hard time even trying to give it like a meandering, mediocre type of review because it's just not that great. You know, usually by now, even on a Friday night, it's like 5 o'clock, 5:30 almost right now. I usually would be in bed by now and would just wait till tomorrow to do the review. But I'm so bummed out over this book because of the kind of, again, it's a super expensive, rare Goosebumps book. I was really excited about this. Maybe this would have something to offer here. Well, there's a reason it's gone extinct. It's because it's a stinker, you know, and yeah. The premise itself I actually really like for the book. I'll get into that in a moment, but it's more of the execution of the book that I don't like. It's really just not that great as the book goes along. I just did not have that great of a time with it. It felt like, with the very premise itself, it felt like the first portion of the book, the first house you'd visit in this book, was so much the focus of the entire book itself. It was kind of a letdown, honestly. I have to turn it to a certain page to make sure I get the number of houses counted out right. Give me just a quick second. Okay, there's 5 of those houses. Okay, so essentially what this story is about is, of course, it's Halloween night. You're dressed up as Dracula, which I thought was cool because I love Dracula stuff. And you're the main character, of course. These books are always written in first person, and it's a choose-your-own-adventure book for anybody who doesn't happen to know that. There was a Give Yourself Goosebumps series in those days where you would read a page, and then you get to the bottom of the page and it'd give you a couple of options, and then you'd turn to the page of the option that you want to choose, and you'd read that, and you'd create your own adventure, basically. Very fun concept. I've read a lot of good Give Yourself Goosebumps books, and then some that are just okay, right? And this is kind of on that borderline of being bad and okay. Now on Halloween night, you happen to run into a kid that's very nerdy, very goofy at your school. The kid tells you that there is this setup of 5 houses you have to go to, one of them at least you have to go to get to this big white mansion up on a hill behind those 5 houses. And each of the houses that I'm talking about are all colored different colors. Red, green, blue, yellow, orange I think is one of them. There's 5 houses in total. In each of the houses that you visit to try to get through and get to the White House, or possibly visit different houses, you can do that. That's an option in the book itself if you survive that many times throughout the book, which myself, I always use a ton of bookmarks and I get every single ending because I like to read the whole book myself. Just because I like all the different endings these books can typically offer. And that's another thing too, this book's endings. I don't think there was maybe one out of the 20 or so endings that was actually good. like satisfyingly good, you know? The first house you can visit is a red house. And the red house itself is the one I was referring to earlier in the review, where I think that most of the book is dedicated to that particular house and the adventure you can go on there. And it was kind of fun. You know, I was kind of like, maybe the book will improve. I'm assuming that story is about this guy here. I'm assuming he is the creature called The Thing, which I'm assuming is kind of the reference to the John Carpenter Thing, or the old movie that John Carpenter remade called The Thing from Another World. I'm not sure if that's kind of like a reference to that or not, but anyway, I'm assuming this is the thing that they talked about in that first story with the red house. Essentially, it's Nathan, the friend that's a nerd, has put you in a situation where this thing is chasing you all over the place, whether it be through different rooms, different levels of a house, something like that. And it's kind of okay and fun and kind of creepy, and some parts of it are a little stupid and goofy. I think the biggest flaw with this whole book, by the way, is that it doesn't feel like Halloween. As much as it's focused on trick-or-treating, of going to 5 different houses, whether it be just one of them or all of them for that matter, and trying to get candy. It has a lot of focus on candy, but it doesn't feel like Halloween, the kind of way that the Haunted Mask books feel like Halloween. You know, it doesn't really capture that well. Not that I think it necessarily needs to, because it's a Give Yourself Goosebumps book, but it would have helped. I think it would have been more enjoyable if they had that aspect to it, especially with such a focus on candy and trick-or-treating. You'd think there would be more to that, more focus on costumes and everything like that. Maybe references even, which isn't common in Give Yourself Goosebumps. If they had references to other books like classic Goosebumps, like maybe The Haunted Mask, I don't know, if they had something like that, it could have really been improved. This was not that good, honestly. I'm really kind of let down, but I'm thankful that I did not end up being one of the people who spent like $300 on it, like it was listed for on eBay and Amazon and stuff, typically, for, you know, Trick or Trapped. Now, that first story I thought was okay, with the whole, the thing, creature thing coming after you. The second collection here is called, it's the Blue House, basically. I don't know why I was going to say collection, but the second house that you can visit is a blue house. It's kind of interesting, not really great or well executed, but it's decently interesting. You basically go up to a house and your parents and your sister answer the front door. And it turns out it's like a weird doppelganger type of situation where this is like an alternate version of your family that just so happened to live in this house all of a sudden. They claim that they just decided to move into this place because they wanted to move. And so you're there, and you experience some weird stuff. That's really it. Nothing fascinating, honestly. Like, the way I just described it is exactly how you're going to feel when you read it, I think. This book might be better for younger readers, like younger readers, but even though Goosebumps is typically designed for middle grade, like upper middle grade readers, like 8th grade, 7th grade maybe, type of kids, this book just does not interest me. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I was really excited to read this. I've waited all month long throughout October to finally wade through a bunch of Goosebumps books, good and bad, to get to this, and it really let me down, honestly. Again, you would think that this being the old Trick or Trapped and not the new Trick or Trap book, you would assume the old one, this one, would be the best, and it ain't. I would tell you flat out, Trick or Trap, the newer one from Most Wanted, is fantastic for the most part. I'd highly recommend that compared to this. Like, don't buy this just because it's rare. Like, if you're a collector, yeah, sure, go for it. But don't be too antsy about reading this. You're going to be kind of let down, I think. The third story in here is an orange house. And the orange house is just basically kind of like... What was the story for that anyway? Was it like was it the science experiment thing? I think is what it was. Yeah. It was like a weird scientist guy, and it was very reminiscent of the first Red House storyline in the book. Very, very close to being almost identical to it. There was one ending in there that involved Santa Claus that I thought was kind of, you know, okay, kind of interesting, but everything leading up to that, no, it was kind of stupid. Then you have the Yellow House. The Yellow House is pretty decent. I'm trying to remember exactly what that was. That's why I keep having to flip through the book to try to remember exactly what these certain things had going on in them. Let's see. I have to keep jumping around to all the different pages that it wants me to go to. I just want to make sure I gave you a good summary of each of these little... Yeah, this one, the Yellow House is kind of like a haunted house type thing. It's not really spooky. Kind of starts out that way, and then it becomes really, really dumb. Like, really, really dumb. Not good. Like I said, this is so reminiscent to that first special edition Give Yourself Goosebumps book. Not the first Give Yourself Goosebumps book, Escape from the Carnival of Horrors. That was a really good book. More like whatever that one is. It has the word Doom in the title. I can't remember. I just recently read it and reviewed it about a month ago, and it was not good. It was pretty bad. Probably one of the worst Goosebumps books I've ever read. Not this one, but, well, this is close, but still. The last house in here is a greenhouse, and it's very reminiscent to the yellow house, or the orange house, I mean, where you have a weird guy that invites you in. He's talking like 100 miles an hour. He tells you all this candy and stuff he wants you to eat, and it's just really dumb. Even the twist endings and stuff aren't good. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I really think that Trick or Trapped is not a good book. I mean, I don't have any energy to make this review exciting. Like, it's just not good. You know, it sucks when we get books like this to talk about here on the channel. I'm sure there's going to be more in the future, probably. God willing, I'm allowed to read them and review them at some point. But this is really rough. I mean, this is a really, really rough book that I could see tons of improvements being made to it that just were not, you know, because of whatever reason. This feels like a cash grab. And like I said, I've said that over and over again about the special editions. The special edition books don't interest me all that much. I have all of them. There are some that I'm very interested to read, like the sequel to Tower of Terror. You know, I'm very interested to see that book and see what it's going to be like. But the ones like this, Trick or Trapped, that I was really excited for, have really honestly let me down in a lot of ways that I don't really know how to explain. I was really excited for this, and I'm really kind of bummed out to make such a negative review for it. There's nothing really positive to say about this. The whole concept, like I said, this premise of visiting one or all of the 5 houses to try to get to this big white mansion to find out who lives there and what happens with that whole thing, that was a cool concept, and it just was not done well. And again, you can visit all the houses if you want to, but it's not really fun. I don't think kids even if this is designed for a younger, you know, like a lower middle grade audience, like I was saying, like 5th or 6th grade years, you know, even if it's designed more for them than the upper middle grade kids like Goosebumps is typically targeted for, I gotta be honest, I don't think the kids would like this as much. I think most kids would love things like Not a Living Dummy or Haunted Mask before they'd read this and like it. I don't know. This is a really big letdown. I'm thankful I have it for my collection. It is a blessing to at least own it. I don't think I'd ever reread this, honestly. It just, I don't know. What do you guys think about this book? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below about Trick or Trapped. It's just really, really... I can't even think of a word. Like, it's not sloppy, it's not messy, it's just not good. It's not. It's kind of sucky, honestly. The more I think about it, the more irritated I am with it. And I've had my fair share of books that have not been good, like Nightmare on Clown Street, for example, from the Most Wanted series, that have relatively just flat out sucked, period. This is kind of in that same bracket, but just a little bit better than Nightmare on Clown Street, but not by much, if you will. Anyway, if I had to rate Give Yourself Goosebumps Special Edition number 7, Trick or Trapped, on a 5-star basis, I'd probably give this a 2 out of 5. It's not a complete loss, because the premise is kind of cool. The Thing, I guess if this is The Thing, the design is cool. The creature attacking you and chasing you is kind of cool. It adds a little bit of attention in that Red House timeline, storyline thing. But I can't even talk. Other than that, it's a giant letdown. I mean, I'm genuinely shocked with how hard this book is to find. You would think that this would be something relatively good. No, it's not. It's really, really not. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Trick or Trapped? If you've read it, again, it's very hard to find this, so that's why I kind of stay away from spoiler reviews, because I like to leave it open for everybody in case they're just curious about what's in the book and they want to read it and stuff. Or if they can't find a copy of it, I don't want to spoil it for you guys, so you ain't missing nothing. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, 2 out of 5 stars. I hate to rate this so low, but honest to God, I can't think of anything to really justify why I'd give it a higher rating. What are your thoughts if you read the book? Put it down below. Thank you for watching, and may the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today, and goodbye.